This time on Turbo Build, we're going to be making these carbon fibre door cards. G'day folks, my name is Brendan and welcome again to BEAVIS Motorsport. And this time with Turbo Build, we're going to be making some door cards for these, well, rather ugly looking doors, but that's for another episode. So I've had these things stripped out and pretty much gutted for quite some time now. A completely bare door. As you can see, pretty much all the inner skin is completely gone, all the door handle mechanism is gone except for the actual handle itself. And so I've cut out this MDF template as kind of a rough guide on what I'm thinking of for a door card. But I can't just deal with MDF, I want to make them out of carbon fibre. So these MDF templates will serve as a nice rough idea on what size I need to cut my carbon. To make the panels, I'm going to be laying them on this makeshift workbench that I've set up. The blue stuff here is PVA mold release. It's really good for working with epoxies and resins and things because it sort of helps stop stuff sticking to stuff. So I've laid it a layer down over this Alcubon sheeting because it's nice and smooth and will give me a nice flat finish. We've made a panel about a metre, so it's about a metre by 1 metre square, so that's just enough for a couple of door cards. For these door cards, I'm going to be using a fairly lightweight square weave cloth or flat weave cloth, I'm not really sure what you call it. Good for flat panels. It's very fine stuff, so you'd have to use many layers if you wanted to make something quite strong, but for a lightweight non-structural part like a door card, this stuff is going to be perfect. Now, to complement the carbon and to sort of save on costs, I'm also using some of this woven fiberglass. This stuff's a fairly lightweight cloth, so it's I think 200 GSM. But rather than using the more expensive carbon, the fiberglass is a bit cheaper, so we can use a couple of layers of this to go with the carbon. We still get the fancy carbon look. However, with the fiberglass, you're saving on some costs and you're still getting most of the benefits. So to lay this all together, it's fairly basic stuff. I've got just a budget paintbrush, some dodgy disposable gloves, some rollers and some spatulas, and a dodgy old container to store the resin in while I'm painting it out. There's really nothing particularly fancy going on here. This is some of the most basic composite work you can do. Anyone could do it really. I'm certainly no professional at it, but it gets the job done. Now, to do this properly, you want to wear some gloves to keep the gank off your hands. It's really sticky stuff. It's just not fun when it gets all over you. And you'll notice on my plastic tub, I've got a couple of marks for the 50 and 250 because it's a 4:1 ratio resin to hardener. It's not super accurate measurements there, and you know, if you're doing this for a proper part, something structural, you'd want to do it properly. In this case, it's not exactly an important part, so I'm not that fussed, so I've just roughed out some markings there, and that'll do for now. Then we'll get to mixing the stuff, and of course, as they say, once you think you've finished mixing, mix again. And once that's mixed, we can start laying it out. Base layer of carbon down, I'm going to throw on one of these fiberglass layers, and then in between those I've cut out some scrap bits of a high density foam that I had lying around. I'm going to use these as kind of a cross brace stiffener just to kind of help the thing from being too floppy. It's a fairly large flat area and flat panels tend to be pretty floppy, so adding this cross brace should sort of help stiffen up a little bit. So the part has had the night to rest, and it's all cured. It's turned out reasonably well. There's quite a few air bubbles around the foam crosses that I put in, so maybe I could have done that better. Perhaps the square woven fiberglass isn't the best stuff for this sort of thing, or perhaps I needed a couple more layers of it. The panel is quite floppy. When I've lifted it off the table, there's not a lot of strength to it, but as I said, this is not a structural part. It's pretty much just for looks and to kind of keep your hands away from all the sharp edges of the trimmed down doors. So look, it'll do its job perfectly fine. And of course, it's now time to put those MDF panels that we made earlier to use. We're going to trace out a cut line around the MDF and trim these up. With these all cut out, we can now go back to the car and test fit them up. The first thing that we have to do is make sure that we fit around the door latch mechanism. Now, because of the way I've completely gutted the crap out of these doors, the latch side of the door has kind of got a big lump that sticks out, and so we had to sort of make a bit of a notch in the door card to fit around that. While it does fit fairly well, it did need a little trimming here and there, but it turned out pretty good, to be honest. I'm quite happy with it. Now, to mount the door card to the door, I've made these little aluminium tabs with some riv nuts in it. So we've got 3 across the top here and a couple across the bottom. They're just riveted in place, and then they've got some M6 nuts in them. Perfectly suitable for the job. And I've done the same thing on the other door. As you can see, this door used to be silver. You can also see here my door handle idea for the inside. Basically just a little aluminium doodle that I've screwed onto the door handle, and that pokes through this hole, and I've even put a door handle strap on. Strap-on? Doodle? Oh my god. Anyway, as you can see, the door panel goes on nicely, the little door handle doodle pokes through, and we've got a very simple, super lightweight door. This thing gutted weighs, I think it was about 8 kilograms with the windows, so quite a bit lighter than the factory door, which is somewhere in the vicinity of about 26 kilograms. And with the door panels on, they do look pretty neat. I've put some M6 hex head bolts on to hold it in place, gives it a nice little racy look, and the blue door handles to make it easier to close them. You can see how well the little push button door handle opener works. Super simple, super lightweight, and I guess that's the key thing here. I'm really happy with how well they've turned out as well, and I've even glued on a little washer around them just for fun. I have to say now, the inside of these doors are much nicer to look at than the outside. So next time we will have to give them a good clean up, give them a paint job, but that's for next episode. Anyway folks, thank you very much for watching. As always, it's been fantastic to have you here. Thanks for sticking around. If you'd like to find out more about us, check out BEAVIS Motorsport on Facebook and Instagram, and have a look at our website, beavismotorsport.com. And of course, don't forget to check out some of our other fantastic YouTube stuff. I've been Brendan Beavis. That's it from me. We'll see you next time.